I'm Kigan. I'm going to read a poem, and then we're going to have a review of podcast 159. Okay, here it is. The Passion of the Spirit. The Spirit doesn't need a popular name to change this world for the better. It does not need a currency or a brand with fancy letters. The most inspiring people are the ones who never quit. Whatever darkness they may face, they still bring light to it. They push on through with courage, prepared to face the challenge. The Spirit will fight for all that is right until the scales of justice are balanced. That's the strength of the Spirit. The Spirit cannot be destroyed, and we will continue to carry that Spirit and fight the evil that we face. Okay, I was going to start with my summary of podcast 159, some stuff I've written down. Humanity as a whole, he was talking about how the race of beings could be suffering from parental abandonment issues as a race, not only as individually but as a race, because of the creatures that made us, and we don't really know what they are or who they are, but there have been several accounts in the past from different areas of the world of people at different times, past and present, or not present, but maybe present, I don't know, but different times in like thousands of years, and then after that, and then different people who did not know each other from different parts of the world have had similar encounters of things, visits from creatures. The interaction with the cosmic parents in the past, possibly. Interbreeding with beings, Nephilim. Why are there so many ancient accounts of extraterrestrials visiting Earth? Beings from the sky, and they're usually described as beings from the sky by these ancient accounts. Different areas of people have similar descriptions of otherworldly beings than other people, and the same as other people in different periods of time and different areas of the world, like I said. And a lot of it is dismissed as myths. It's not even looked at or considered. So we don't know. How can we call this how can we call these past ancient writings myths if people who didn't even know one another or even lived in the same time period witnessing accounts of similar extraterrestrial beings? Hundreds of thousands of years of interaction just because somebody said something, or there's been hundreds of thousands of years of interaction just dismissed because people dismiss because maybe somebody said something or told them something and they believed it. But just because they believe it doesn't make it true. Well, it doesn't make it untrue either. But people need to look and open up to other possibilities, because what the mainstream garbage that they're giving you about your origins is just that. It's garbage. It doesn't make any sense. And what we're learning and studying now is making lots of sense. And lots of people have been calling in and saying how it makes a lot more sense. So, I mean, we're trying to gather together in truth and talk about it, because we know that we've been lied to, and we're going to get to the bottom of it, because we have a strong spirit. Just because somebody doesn't mean these accounts didn't happen. How would you feel if you had one of these accounts and nobody believed you? Like I was talking about. Ralph's been talking about that. People that they abused, and people don't want to believe it because it's so severe that they just want to throw it under the rug because it's not comfortable. It's very, very upsetting to be doubted, and I mean, it's got to be a terrible feeling if you've been through some horrific thing and nobody believes it. Scientists and establishments dismiss all information found as myths to protect their paradigm. Of course, that's the whole idea. Because nobody dares to even look at these things as a possibility. The money, they don't want to, of course they don't want to risk their money that's invested in museums and the government grants they get for their archaeological digs, the prestige and recognition whether or not it is true. And when they find artifacts that do not fit the paradigm, they are hidden or destroyed. People have the right to know the truth. We have an obligation to share discoveries with one another. Humanity was created. It has been said that in the Sumerian texts, which make a lot of sense, that humanity was created as a worker race, slave race. And they created humans to do labor to get the resources that were needed, but they were too lazy to do it for themselves, so they wanted to use some people just for what they wanted and then leave. Perhaps some may have stayed. Maybe they liked to have power over others. Some mated with humans, and the Nephilim, and descendants still here and ruling like animals, which is pretty obvious. I mean, look at the war I've been talking about, how people are just used for what they want and tossed aside like garbage. Because it's true, and nobody wants to think about it. And I really can't stand when people say, oh, that's just how it is, and that's the problem, because people need to stop standing up and saying, no, it's not just how it is, and we're not going to deal with it anymore. Here's a timeline, an outline of timeline of what happened to humanity. There's a man that Mark was talking about named Travis Walton, and he had a book. A lot of people ridiculed him because he had an experience that was unusual, and just like that, of course, they just assume and make fun of somebody who, I mean, if you weren't there, how would you know? It's ridiculous. It really is. You need to stop dismissing things as mental illness and demonizing people, because this is real, and I know it is. I just know it because people are trying to tell the truth and are trying to share what they know with the world. And of course they're going to get demonized just like Yeshua was. Of course of that. And I was reading something which is really true. If Yeshua were here today, he would be considered a terrorist. And also, Mark Rivera was talking about how the prisoners in Guantanamo have all been cleared of crimes, but they're still locked up. Why is that? The demonization of the innocent has never stopped. It still continues. And just because it's not happening to you doesn't mean other people aren't being victimized. And if it's not happening to you, you should stand up for the others that it is happening to. Travis Walton was a quiet, respectful man of truth, and he's been ridiculed by foolish people. He encountered an abduction, was taken on a non-human craft to be healed because he got too close to the craft, and the energy of it was too much to handle, and he was going to die. It must have been some kind of like electrocution or something. He wrote a book called Fire in the Sky. He was missing for 5 to 6 days during that ordeal, and his co-workers were accused of murder because he was missing. And then he woke up in the deserted road in Arizona, and he said, I've come to realize the biggest problem in the world, I've come to realize that the biggest problem anywhere in the world is that people's perceptions of reality are completely filtered through the screening mesh of what they want and don't want to be true. Travis Walton, which is a really, really great quote. And people need to look at it and really think about it, because it's true. This is, and anybody who is, because the way people do that, and they want to screen it through what they want and don't want to be true, and they want to believe what they want to believe and what makes sense and what makes them comfortable. And basically it's called, what Mark said, it's claiming to be God. Nobody is God except for the Most High. And He made the universe, and He wants you to learn things that may not be easy to digest, but we can handle it because we have a strong spirit. People must learn not to allow what makes them comfortable to hold them back from what is true. That's what Mark Cloverfield said. What makes you comfortable can be toxic to your ability to open your mind. This could be making you toxic. It could be toxic to your ability to open your mind. So, what's comfortable for you may be a complete lie, and would you rather have that, or would you rather know the truth? Because the truth is very important. Okay. It is a great, and here's another really great quote. It is a great mystery that through the human heart, it is a great mystery that though the human heart longs for truth, in which it alone finds liberation and delight, the first reaction of human beings to truth is one of hostility and fear. The Anthony de Mello. That's a great quote. Here's Mark's summary with the book, The Safe Futures of the Gods, that I was reading. Here's what he says about what happened, and also some stuff I didn't know. I'll read it now. It says, the Sumerians called the makers of humans Anunnaki, which means those who came to earth from the heavens, because the word for sky was Anu, and the space beyond space, meaning that they came from somewhere that they couldn't see. So that's where the name Anunnaki came from. I didn't know that. I didn't realize if it was just what these things were actually called, but that's what they called them. There's several different cultures' origins held similar accounts of these, and how humanity of these has similar accounts, like the Sumerians did, and the way humanity was made in their accounts is very similar. The Anunnaki in Sumerian is like something that we would call an extraterrestrial astronaut today. The ancient ETs, Anunnaki, came to Earth in search of gold that they needed for the planet. They created humans because they were too lazy to do the work required to obtain the gold. And Enki and Enlil, actually, when we were talking about that, how they had a disagreement about humanity and what they wanted to do, it also could have been actually representation of more than one, like in an individual group. Like it could have been two opposing groups, or people that didn't get along. And then that's the obsession with bloodline royalty and the sons of the new, sons of the sky. So that was the interpretation of trying to make sense of what happened. It's like we are. So we don't claim to know everything, but we are open to finding out things that we may not have known, because we do want to find out the truth, and the truth can be known. Don't believe the lie of solipsism, which is the lie that truth can never be known. We can never know because we can, because it exists, and we will figure it out eventually. So I think I'm going to end right here, and I will see you next week. Thank you for listening.
Romance began to speak. It must be money. Security couldn't get her down. She was welded to the eagle's beak.